Hey everybody, welcome back to the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yes, we are back at it again and with something very, very special. This is courtesy of good friend Brian Anderson. I have to give him a big shout out for providing me with a sample of today's whiskey that we'll be doing a review of, which is the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Rye Whiskey. Something I've been extremely excited to try. Still trying to track down a bottle of it, but Brian was nice enough to provide me with a sample so that I could at least do a review of it for you guys here on the channel. So again, this is the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Rye. This one specifically is coming in at 130.4 proof or 65.2% ABV. MASHBILL, undisclosed. It is non-age stated, and the MSRP on this bad boy is a very friendly $65. As we get into it, you'll see I don't have any idea how in the world they're selling this for $65. So with that being said, let's go ahead and kind of get into the review. First, take a look at the color on this. It's a really nice kind of rich, almost mahogany type of color. Really, really nice kind of amber copperish type of color. So, all right, let's get into this. Nose. I mean, it's like right away, I mean, it is just a fantastic nose. You're hit with so much stuff right away. It's something that this is a whiskey that you really are gonna wanna take your time with. So I'd say right away, you get hit with this really nice, like sweet, like deep rye spice, like immediately. A fantastic mint. It's not overly minty. It's just a nice, really fresh mint note that's there. There's this candy sweetness that's there. And the orange citrus, like an orange marmalade. It's something that's very like dominant in this, I would say. Even a little bit of like a lemon zest nose there. Some fresh fruit. Great oak. Again, this is what I'm going to interpret as a sweet oak. You don't get, there's not that like pungent oakiness that you get. It's more of what I try to interpret as like a sweeter oak. There's a nice oak presence to it, but it's not overly oaky. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Even like a vanilla cake batter. A little bit like a green tea. There's like a little bit of like an herbal note on that. Really nice, rich, dark chocolate. Some like espresso. It's a heavy coffee, like something that's got a lot of depth to it. So if you've had an espresso, you know exactly like how bold and flavorful that can be. Nice leather note on that. Again, some of those like that rich vanilla and caramel that are there. Even a slight bit of like a peanut shell, and maybe even leaning a little bit towards like a peanut butter aspect. It's not overly dominant by any means, but there's a little bit of like a peanut shell or maybe even a peanut butter note on it. And then something else I just got is like a Cinnabon. So you've got a little bit of that like that pastry note. Again, you get a little bit of that kind of like cake frosting or vanilla frosting, the cinnamon that's there, a little bit of that kind of that sweetness that's there on it. It's just it's very deep. There's a lot that's going on with this one. I would say, you know, more of that orange marmalade and mint really starts to kind of come out in this. It's a really, really nice nose on this whiskey so far. So there's just so much depth that's there. This is gonna be one of those whiskeys at its proof. You wanna let it sit out, open up a little bit, and let it kind of evolve, and it's gonna change. The longer you kind of continue to sip on it and all of that, this will definitely change, and you'll pull out some probably several different kind of flavors on this one. So more importantly, let's get to the taste on this guy. Cheers. Wow. I'll say this, based on that first sip and the nose, this is a whiskey that you want to 110% have in your collection. Track it down. If you can get several, do it. This is so far based on this is a very special rye whiskey, and at $65 it becomes even more special knowing what this is and that kind of value in today's day and age of value. This is an incredible value. So let's kind of get into its overall kind of profile. So first off, you've got this great, like complex, like baking spice aspect to it. Again, that orange marmalade, fantastic mint note on this. A little bit of that green tea aspect. There's a little bit of that herbal note on this one. And still some of that like chocolate. I mean, it's exploding with flavors, and I've already, sipped this thing, almost a minute or so ago, and the flavors are just kind of exploding. It coats the mouth extremely well. And for 130.4 proof, it's not overly hot at all. I would say this thing probably drinks more in that 110-ish kind of range, which is still high proof, but you're not getting all of that like that burn or anything along those lines. So really, really nice so far. Oh, that mint and the chocolate, that orange marmalade. Nice, sweet, like rich, deep oak presence to it, not over oaked by any means. Again, just like you would never have any idea you're drinking or sipping on 130 proof rye whiskey. It's absolutely fantastic. Again, you start to get some of that coffee, more of like an espresso from the standpoint of it being like rich, deep, complex, all of that. A little bit of a leather note, which I kind of sometimes will interpret as like a little bit of a dryness. So when I start to get things that dry out, I'll kind of get a little bit of like that leather aspect on it. Maybe you could even go as far as saying like a sweeter pipe tobacco, something along those lines as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's an absolutely fantastic barrel proof rye whiskey. And if this is one that you can get at least one bottle, if you can get several of them, buy as many of these things as you can. It's a very special rye whiskey from what it is that it has to offer and its price. I mean, at $65, it is an incredible value when you start to compare this to some other, whiskeys that are out there. Fantastic rye whiskey. Yeah, the richness, the complexity, the candy sweetness that's there. I would say in terms of a comparison, I would go back to maybe like a Kentucky Owl Rye Batch 1, which was, again, very similar to this from the standpoint of it's like complexity. You've got the candy sweetness that's there, a lot of that mint, the orange marmalade aspect to it. And that's what kind of registers, in my mind a little bit. You could maybe even say some of the barrel proof ryes from like Foregate, where you've got some of these special ryes where it just, you've got something very special. But, this Jack Daniel's barrel proof rye at 130.4 proof is an absolute home run, and I would say a must buy. If you can get a bottle, and if for some reason there's somebody out there who's got one and they're able to lead me in that path as to where I can get one, please reach out to me, because it's something that's very, very special. So if we transition over to the finish on this, I mean, it is super long. It's long all day long. And again, like I said before, you've got those lingering baking spices, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, that orange marmalade, that sweet oak presence that's there. Just the overall complexity kind of remains. it coats the mouth really well. So it's allowing this finish to be nice and long, allowing those flavors to just, you know, cling to the palate. Great mint notes that's there, chocolate. There's so much going on with this that I would say, just in terms of what I'm doing right now, I know that the more I sip on it, the more complexity, just the more complex it's gonna get just from sipping on it. So what I'll say is with this, you know, is buy this. I've said it already a couple times throughout the video. If you can get it, buy it. It is worth all of $65 for sure. So there you have it. This in a nutshell is the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Rye Whiskey. Again, 130.4 proof. A very friendly 65 bucks for what it is that you're getting. You will not be disappointed in this whatsoever. So I want to say thank you first and foremost to Brian Anderson for sharing a sample of this with me for me to do a review of. So thank you very much, Brian. Also, I want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in to another one of my reviews. One other thing, I do have a new merch line. So if you want to check that out, hats, shirts, tumblers, quarter zips, t-shirts, long shirt tees, all of that stuff. So it's a little bit newer. So check that out. It'll be linked in the description below. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can through my Patreon page, which I'll have linked also in the description below. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those places at My Bourbon Journey as well. So again, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into another one of my reviews. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.